Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a brilliant day out here in the outskirts of Barcelona, and we are riding the new Royal Enfield Guerrilla 450. Now, this motorcycle has been making a lot of news in the last few weeks and months, and for good reason, because I've been riding this for almost half a day today since early morning. And here, over the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you what are the pros and cons of this motorcycle. And first of all, let's start off with the design, because this motorcycle looks unlike any other Royal Enfield out there on sale today. Alright, now about the design. Well, as you can see, the Guerrilla 450 is a roadster. And well, what I really like about this motorcycle is its minimalistic design. As you can see, there's not too much of a bodywork. They've kept the metal and plastic to a minimum, and that's what really looks good about this motorcycle. It's clean, it's very minimalistic, but it looks purposeful. Now, if you look at the front, you'll see this headlamp and again the tripper, familiar from the Himalayan. These wheels, again 17-inch, both the front and the rear, and the rubber, well, it's a Seat tire both front and back, but it has been co-developed by Royal Enfield and Seat, so of course it is a purpose-built tire. When you go back again, you'll see the sculpted fuel tank, and you're seeing these graphics here. Well, you can get different options. There is a wide range of options that Royal Enfield sells, and it also depends on the variant you're buying for the motorcycle. But this one really looks cool. I also like the one that comes with the white and blue combination. When you look at the engine, again, you can see, well, all of these bolts that are here, it gives it a very mechanical feel. And that is exactly, at least, how I like my motorcycles to be. They should feel and look mechanical. Move back and you'll see this upswept exhaust. Again, when you look at it from the back, it's a slim exhaust, goes in sync with that minimalistic design approach. You've got this single seat here. It's a low seat, by the way, 780 millimeters. If you are tall, you want a higher seat, you can go in for a different seat from the accessory package. But for all of you riders out there, especially in India, people of average height, this is a very accommodating seat, and you shouldn't have problems, or you shouldn't be tiptoeing. At the back, again, a very nice minimalistic design. I've been using this word again and again because that is the thing about this design. Overall, when you look at this motorcycle, I think it just looks fantastic. Also, this monoshock at the rear, it looks like it was built for a purpose, and it really achieves that. Now, how does it ride? Well, that is exactly what I'll tell you over the next few minutes. But as far as design goes, I think Royal Enfield tried to do something different. They have done something different, and it's turned out to be pretty good.
And now let's talk about the most important bit about the Guerrilla 450, its performance. Let's start off with the riding posture, or the riding triangle. With wide handlebars and rear set foot pegs, the riding stance is inclined forward and in favor of performance, but not to the extent of making rides hurtful for your wrists or back. Even after riding the motorcycle for more than 8 hours on the main riding day, I was fairly comfortable at the end, and the only place in my body where I had pain was my butt cheeks. But considering my physique, I might not be the best person to be talking about seat comfort. That said, the wide and well-cushioned seat should be good enough for most people. Also, this is a roadster, not a tourer, so it's not aimed at covering long distances at one go. And keep in mind that the fuel tank that looks very similar to that on the Himalayan 450 actually takes in less fuel. 11 liters on the Guerrilla 450 versus the 17 on the Himalayan 450. But what's really good about the seat is that at 780 millimeters of height, it is accessible for short riders as well. And the fact that it's lighter, well, it just makes riding this motorcycle less intimidating and very welcoming for new riders. Right, onto the powertrain, and let's get the basic stats and changes out of the way first. The same engine used in the Himalayan 450 has been used here, and the power numbers, the torque numbers remain the same. But RE has made some changes to ensure the Guerrilla 450 performs differently to the Himalayan 450. These include changes to the throttle mapping, two lesser teeth in the rear sprocket, basically 45 instead of the 47 on the Himalayan 450, and also a sharper rake angle. And hey, don't forget that this motorcycle is significantly lighter as well, about 11 kilograms lighter than the Himalayan 450. Add to this package a different rear subframe, slightly different exhaust. I mean, not different, but it's the same as Himalayan 450, but the mountings are slightly different. And there are non-adjustable Showa telescopic forks up front and a linked monoshock with preload adjustment. The tires are the widest in the segment, and as I said earlier, these are co-developed. Brakes include a 310mm front disc, a 270mm unit at the rear, so quite a lot of changes. But the big question is, do they work well on the road or just take up real estate on paper and screens? Well, the changes work really great on the Guerrilla 450. That's the quick verdict that I can give you. And how? Well, let me explain. Now, through our ride, what really impressed was the powertrain. Now, this engine we already know is quite potent and refined at the same time. In the Guerrilla also, it performs very impressively. Right from the word go, you always have a good amount of acceleration. And even when you're going through the gears, your acceleration doesn't taper off suddenly. You get good amount of acceleration through the gearbox. And even at the top end, when you have gone up to speeds beyond 120, the motorcycle does not struggle to offer more acceleration or speed. So that's something I really loved about the Guerrilla 450. Very versatile and very impressive but not intimidating performance. That's exactly what I would want from a motorcycle that I would wish to ride on a daily basis. Also, while the exhaust is pretty much similar to the Himalayan 450, like I said earlier, the mountings are different, and because of that there are some slight design changes to the exhaust. The sound, at least what I felt, was different from the Himalayan 450. Not very different, but slightly different. It just felt a bit more throaty, a bit more engaging. So it just went well with that entire roadster theme and positioning. I just found it to be a bit more livelier. The Showa units, both front and at the back, again do a great job of giving stability and flickability to this motorcycle. Now keep in mind that this motorcycle is a roadster, so unlike the Himalayan, this has to be far more agile on the streets through the corners, and that's exactly what this motorcycle delivers. Like I said earlier, the suspension, these Showa units, they are different, the rear subset is different, and the tires are different, and these changes make a good amount of difference to the way this motorcycle rides. It feels very happy to be flicked around corners, so even through a series of bends, and that's exactly what we went through during our ride. We went through some lovely roads with some amazing series of twisties, and the Guerrilla 450 never complained from this constantly quick change in direction. Also, when there were moments where we had to really brake hard or make corrections through the corner, the Guerrilla 450 turned out to be very forgiving, and that's again exactly something you need in a motorcycle that you plan to ride every day. Forgivability. It's not a motorcycle that snaps back at you, but instead just becomes one and performs the way you want it to. And whenever you're powering out of the corners, remember those changes that I said about acceleration, the throttle mapping, the changes to the rear sprocket. All of those changes, along with the lighter weight, helps overall acceleration as well as the top speed. So the acceleration just feels a little bit nippier. It just feels a bit more livelier through all the gears and right from the start off line. And even when you're exploring performance at the top end, this motorcycle does not disappoint. On a certain closed section of the road, I was able to hit speeds close to 155 kilometers per hour, and still the motorcycle did not feel as if it had run out of breath, but I surely ran out of road. Even these tires, the tires co-developed by Royal Enfield and Seat, do a remarkably good job of keeping the motorcycle planted on the straights as well as through the corners. A few times I had the requirement to do panic braking, and the tires offered brilliant grip. The ABS worked well, and the overall stability of the motorcycle was great. It did not lose its line. And even when you are pushing the motorcycle hard through corners, well, the tires offer great grip. The only limiting factor actually for the Guerrilla 450 that I found out during a ride was the height of the foot pegs. The motorcycle chassis, the tire capability, the overall handling is so good that you end up exploring the limits too soon and you end up scraping the foot pegs. And grinding the foot pegs constantly through the corner is not something that most riders would like. So that becomes a bit of a limiting factor. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the overall handling was super impressive. Even the brakes worked really well. The bite could have been slightly better, but the stopping power is adequate and the motorcycle does come to a reassuring halt. I did hear a lot of people complaining, or rather saying that having a switchable ABS could have been better, but I think it wouldn't have made much of a difference. And this is a motorcycle that's going to be ridden mostly on roads. So why really would you need a switchable ABS? I mean, let it just stay on all the times. Unless you want to do a stoppie, which isn't something I would recommend, but it can't really be the selling point of a technology. So to sum up the performance of the Guerrilla 450, well, I think the package works brilliantly, and what I liked about it was the fact that the motorcycle is so accessible, and at the same time it is very forgiving and lets you easily confide in its abilities, understand what it can deliver, and then quickly start exploring those limits. That makes the Guerrilla 450 a brilliant motorcycle to enjoy, which never intimidates you but motivates you to push the boundaries. And that's what makes motorcycling fun. If you are always intimidated by the power or the capability of the motorcycle, it wouldn't be a fun experience. And with the Guerrilla 450, that's never the case. All across, it offers great performance. And as far as I am concerned, I think if you're looking for a roadster that offers a good balance between performance, comfort, versatility, the Guerrilla 450, in my opinion, has to be pretty much the best on offer right now.
Alright, so now having ridden the Guerrilla 450 for a couple of days, finally it is time to give out the verdict. Now, how's the motorcycle? Well, it is unlike any other Royal Enfield on sale right now. It's a very different motorcycle. Now, a lot of you might say, yeah, it shares a lot of parts. It shares the platform with the Himalayan 450, but it feels very different. It's got a shorter wheelbase. It's more aggressive in terms of rake. The engine mapping is different. It just feels like a different motorcycle to ride. It is basically, if I have to put it in short, it is a motorcycle that works in every situation for everyday riding. It is pretty much the motorcycle you need for your everyday riding. Not much. It isn't underpowered by any sense. It's got enough power. I mean, I was able to get close to 150 on the speedo. So yes, it has enough power to get you going even on those expressways, on the highways. And the gearing is such, the throttle mapping is so smooth, you always have enough power on your hand. So it is a motorcycle that you will thoroughly enjoy riding. What I really liked about the motorcycle is it is very good in terms of handling. Even this rubber that has been co-developed by Royal Enfield and Seat works really well, and it is a very forgiving motorcycle. So if you do make those corrections through a corner, or you go in too hot, or you're making an error, this gives you a lot of room to correct your mistakes, and that's exactly what you need from a motorcycle that's a good everyday riding motorcycle. Now, as far as the prices are concerned, it isn't out yet. In a few hours today though, the prices will be out. By the time you see this video, the prices will be at the bottom of your screen. And going by the track record of Royal Enfield, they do price their motorcycles pretty well and competitively. And if that happens, I see the Guerrilla 450 being a success, but more importantly, bringing in new riders. I mean, this is an untapped segment for the company, and there aren't many motorcycles out there in this segment. But with the kind of proposition that Royal Enfield has brought with the Guerrilla 450, it is a very compelling choice, and it makes great sense for buyers who want a nice everyday motorcycle to ride. The prices we'll know soon, but yes, I'm hoping it'll be competitive, and if it is competitive, Royal Enfield once again has another winner on their hands.